We're starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this weekend, guys.
Yeah.
The Cavs may be in the West Coast, but the Cleveland Charge are at home. You can experience Charge basketball at Public Hall this season. The Cleveland Charge are the NBA G League affiliate for the Cavaliers, and they're back in action for their 5th season in Cleveland. Charge alumni like Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, and two-way players like Naquan Tomlin and Travis Enaruma show that the G League is home to future stars of the NBA. The Charge hosts Special Olympics Night presented by Cleveland Cliffs on Saturday at 7 p.m. against the Greensboro Swarm. The Charge will be partnering with Special Olympics and taking the court in polar plunge-themed jerseys, and the first 1,500 fans receive a special Charge blanket.
Tickets Is she on the team?
Are on sale now. They are not on the team at clevelandcharge.com. Guys, it is the blockbuster that shook the NBA yesterday. We spoke about the reports that it could happen. It has happened.
Yeah.
The Cavs have traded Darius Garland and a second-round pick to the Clippers in exchange for James Harden. There was a great article in The Athletic this morning by Joe Varden and our own Jason Lloyd detailing how this trade came to be, including the fact that Donovan Mitchell reportedly had put some pressure on the organization, either via himself or via representation, to make some kind of move, and he had hand-selected James Harden as a running mate he wanted to play with. But, Zach, it's your first day on the panel, so we're going to start with you. Thoughts, reaction to this Cavaliers blockbuster that brings former MVP James Harden to Cleveland?
So I woke up Tuesday morning to see that it was in the works, and I thought, there's no way this is possible. And I went to the Browns press conference yesterday, and I thought, I hate this. James Harden hasn't fit in multiple places.
Yeah.
Like, this seems rushed. But the more I thought about it, I think it makes sense, and I like it. I think it comes down to more than anything, guys. The Cavs had gotten to a point with Darius Garland where they just didn't trust him. His health, maybe wanting to extend him when the time came, having him available, right? So they have things to work with the fit with James Harden. Are you going to get the very best version of James Harden? But if you do, you're getting high ceiling. And I think it really comes down to May 10th, you're on the road. You need to know a guy's going to be there. Right, so they've got plenty of time to get to that point, right? We're just at the start of February. We're 2 weeks from the All-Star break. This is a guy that at 36 years old is averaging 25 points a game. He's done it all in this league. He's done it all at a high level. He has not gotten there in June.
Yeah.
Right? So you get him in a spot now where he went from no chance to every chance to get to June. I liked it. I like it. I think you have to think boldly for the Cavs because just getting close is no longer good enough. And clearly all season long something's been off, and Darius has not been available. Yeah. I like the move a lot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday before the move was official, but something had to give. I mean, Garland was not a fit, not reliable. Don't know. I mean, he's reliable, but he's not healthy. So you can't count on him. Like you said, May 10th, you got to have a guy on the court. And I know all the things, the bad things about Harden. We all know he doesn't play defense. He's never won a title. Quits on his team. Does all these things. But like the dude fills up the bucket, man. And we are going to need to score 120 plus points a game in the playoffs if we're going to compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I have no idea if James Harden is going to get over that hump and decide that he wants to be a team guy and try to win a title. Because if he does win a title, look at all the other accolades. Go to his Wikipedia page. I mean, the dude's obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but I mean, an all-time great. And you would add a title on top of that. It would be nice for him, I think, in terms of his legacy in the league to change some things. He has a chance to change the narrative about what people think about him. I like the move. To me, it's low risk because I didn't think we were getting. I can't use those words anymore. Yeah. I didn't think we were going to get anything out of Garland. At least we know we're going to get 20 plus points, maybe 25 plus points out of. James Harden in the postseason.
You know, you mentioned Oklahoma City Thunder, but like the Cavs haven't even been able to get through the East with the team as it was. The bottom line is, I think we all. I know I kind of felt the same way as you initially. It's like I've not really liked Harden for years. I'm like, well, I don't want him, and then you think about it. You got to give the organization credit. I've had a love and hate relationship with Kobe Altman. You know, I thought he sucked, and I gave him credit that he sucked again. Yeah. But they're saying we got to win now.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the Browns are always about next year and next year and next year. They spend money, but it's always about the future. The Cavs are saying, F the future. We have to win now because if we don't win now, Donovan Mitchell may be gone, and then it's all is lost.
I absolutely think it starts there, Bull. The East is winnable.
Yes.
The East has arguably never been more winnable in 5 years.
Yes.
And you're right, the Cavs are in this window. So this is a huge move.
Yeah.
It's a huge risk. You got to take it on. But look where you are as an organization. huge investments,
Yep.
gotten to the doorstep, haven't gotten there, and this whole year, something's been off. So is it coach versus GM? Is it player versus player? Are we really good enough to win now?
Yeah.
All of those things can point you to this type of move. Darius Garland's value is not super high because of the injury. But the Clippers, who have hit a wall of their own, could look and say, we are going to take this risk on a young player if he is healthy. Right. We are willing to pay him. We're willing to go forward with him. We can't find him. Whereas the Cavs can say, we need to move on from him because we can't get to that next step.
Right.
And here it is right in front of them. We don't know what Boston's going to do. We don't know if Detroit's mature enough, right? But the Cavs' availability more than anything else sunk them last year, right? They had one huge brain fart
All
in the
these
Indiana
last
game.
few
They
years,
never
yeah.
recovered.
Yep.
But James Harden has been a lot of things. He's been durable. He scores it. He will throw lobs to your bigs who give you a unique combination. And he will form a really unique combination with Donovan Mitchell. So chemistry-wise, we'll see. But if you're Max Strus, like you're itching to get back there, this guy's going to get you wide open shots. If you're Mobley and Allen, you're going to get lobs at the rim that you're going to dunk and hopefully change games with those plays.
The other thing about his game, too, he's just an offensive everything. I mean, he can give you 12 assists, too, like on any given night. So like, you talk about his scoring, just alone, 25 points. Well, okay, what if he has 10 assists, too? That's another.
Right,
So that's almost 50 points coming from this dude.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, what is, for all his flaws, we acknowledge them, we get it. Nobody's pretending they don't exist.
Yeah.
What does he do better than Darius Garland? I mean, what does Darius Garland do better than him?
He didn't really play defense either.
Yeah. You can't be that small. You can't be that small in today's NBA. In stretches you can, but not in May and June.
I mean, Harden's a better offensive player. Neither one plays defense. He's a better passer. He's a good passer, too.
And one guy
plays.
Yeah, I mean, he happens to be like 10 years older than the younger guy who can't stay on the court.
That's right. So, 5 years from now, you'd rather have Darius Garland, but who cares?
Our window is this big, guy.
Yeah,
right. You're taking a risk in dynamics because of Harden's history.
100%.
Right? But you're also looking at your dynamics and saying it wasn't going to be there. So the Cavs are now on this strange long road trip. The Cavs have been kind of up and down all year, and Darius hasn't been there. So they finished the road trip Saturday. They play 3 or 4 more games before the All-Star break. When they come back, it's time to go chase a championship. Right? They have that time to get everybody on the same page. So the weirdness of this will be out of the way, the weirdness of everything that's gone on, and they get back in late February, and it's right there in front of them to where they're the favorite to win the East, and they probably should be.
Even if it somehow blows up in their face, and I don't know what that would look like, to me it was worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you had to take the chance.
Right.
Very similar to a Deshaun Watson situation.
Listen, if you lose in the NBA Finals or you even lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, it'll still be disappointing.
Yeah.
But if you get beat in the second round again and you didn't make any move, he still doesn't have any trade value. Like that's where, to me, as soon as I had time to process this, I was like, absolutely, I'm in. Like, you're not doing any better right now, and right now is when you have to make that move because the risk of waiting is just too great.
Yeah, the age thing, like that's the only advantage to Darius, and I just feel like the Cavs are saying we don't care. They're acknowledging in a few years they're going to be bad. They're going to have to start over and rebuild, but they want to take their best shot at winning a championship this year and maybe next.
I actually want to push back on that a little bit, Bull.
What?
I don't think they're necessarily admitting they're going to be bad in a couple of years. It's going to be a completely different, retooled roster. I mean, you still have...
Yeah, but they have no draft picks.
Yeah, but
whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like 5 years from now...
It's going to be retooled. I think more than anything, and I didn't fully comprehend this, or I didn't necessarily put this together yesterday in the aftermath of it. I know you and I did a quick reaction pod on your platform. Well, I did a quick thing on UCSS. You know, this decision is an indictment on how they feel Darius Garland's toes recovery is going. Because, by the way, they threw a second-round pick in on top of Darius Garland.
Right.
I just view that as injury insurance, essentially, where they just didn't feel confident that Darius would get back to being the Darius, and they know his physical is better than anyone else, right? Like, they see him every day. They work with him.
Yeah, they don't trust him. He can't stay on the court.
And the other thing is the Cavs were working and operating over the last few seasons on a bit of a 2-timeline series where they went and they got Donovan and they pushed all their chips in with Donovan, but they had a bunch of other super young guys who weren't necessarily at the stage in their careers that Donovan was at. By trading Darius for James Harden, and Harden's older than Donovan is, they're now all on Don's timeline. There is no more 2-timeline fiasco happening. And you could operate as a 2-timeline team in the NBA. I'm not saying it's not possible, but there's no confusion on what the window is,
That's right.
what the goal is. And right now, the Cavs, it was before and it's even more certain after, it is essentially championship or bust for the next 2 seasons.
I agree. In Jason and Joe's story, they say that Donovan Mitchell did not want the team to sit tight, that Donovan Mitchell's looking at his contract situation, which is a year from now, right? The Cavs deny that. But in either case, this also opens the door that the Cavs are open for business. So as long as Donovan Mitchell's happy and as long as they're going for it, you can continue to retool. Like if you're going to make this move, you're saying we're not committing to Darius a year or 2 from now, right? For further down the road because he hasn't been healthy. So what is next? What are they really in next summer?
Could
now
they
that
trade Mobley?
Right.
Could Mobley be next?
I think this is discussions that we don't know, but I think it's way more open than it was 48 hours
Can we get Giannis
ago.
for Mobley?
Can
we dream?
Mike, yesterday you and I were talking last night, and you said that you thought Mobley for Giannis was on the table.
Is that crazy?
Has something happened since then that now we don't think it's going to happen?
So they're definitely having conversations.
Yeah.
They are 100% having those conversations. The Cavs are also checking in on Anthony Davis, and there are some other names that are out there. Like the Cavs are not done. Once again, they are going to have to make another move because Naquan Tomlin does not have a roster spot. They are not letting Naquan go.
Yeah, but
Giannis last night did a whole feature came out on him. He spoke to Eric Nem, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's the Jason Lloyd of Milwaukee. Runs the Athletic in Milwaukee. But he's like the Bucks insider, very well respected. And he essentially, and I'm trying to find the exact quote, he essentially said he wants to retire as a Buck. And that feels like it's putting a halt in any potential Giannis moves if now he's saying maybe I don't actually want to be. It's a whole convoluted thing. But it feels like the momentum on that has halted a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Although I don't think the Cavs are done making moves.
That's fair, and that's probably right, Mike, like you said. But I don't think the Bucks ever thought that they had to trade Giannis this week.
Yeah,
but for the Cavs to have made this move, it didn't just happen overnight, and they thought they had to make a move now. They looked and said, we're either not going to get there or we're going to regret it if we get there and we sputter. Like, we are going for this. We see our path in the
I give Kobe so much credit for making this move because you have to swallow your pride a little bit and be like, all right, because he brought everybody back,
right?
Which was stones on the table type of deal, and you're saying, okay, I was wrong.
He believed in this team as is.
He's putting his ego aside to try and do anything to help this team win, which I respect, and I think that it's going to have a better chance than what we had.
Right.
And sometimes people in sports and in business and whatever, like their egos get in the way, and it holds them back from actually achieving something by saying, okay, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Because if they just kept throwing it against the wall, we're going to sit here and be home again in May, guys.
Yeah. The only problem, Mike mentioned Anthony Davis. The thing with Anthony Davis, though, is he's always hurt, too.
Right.
So I don't.
Sure, but
Giannis,
you would be able to buy him at a great discount.
Yeah,
that's true.
For sure.
The name catches your eye because it's Anthony Davis, right? But the thought is now that the Cavs are open for business, the rest of the league, 80% of it is open for business over the next, 27 hours, whatever it is.
It's going to be fun.
You're there. And if you can look to buy at a really cheap price, obviously on Giannis, you worry a little bit about his age and all it would take to give up.
Right.
But if the Mavs are selling Anthony Davis right now, they're selling him for pennies on the dollar. And it's just an if. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think the Cavs have to explore it, and they're not the only team doing that.
Well, Mike, what would it take to get Anthony Davis, you think?
So his contract's huge.
Okay. So
The
you'd have
Mavs
to.
don't
Like, what's he making? Like
necessarily-
$50 million?
He makes 54 this year, 58 next, and that's a $62
that'd be
million
money.
player
That'd be
option.
money.
Yeah, how do you
So
do that?
insane.
So how you do it is a combination of a couple of players. What makes it a lot easier to get to that number is that the Cavs dip under the second apron first. And that's why I think if you see the Cavs make a Lonzo salary dump or a Strus salary dump earlier, it's an indication that something
something's
bigger may
coming.
be brewing. It is almost impossible for the Cavs to finagle an Anthony Davis trade while they're
But
currently still in
if
the
they're not
second
going to
apron.
trade Evan Mobley, like what could the Cavs possibly give them? Or is it they just looking to get rid of him and that's it?
Could be a combination of all the above.
Anthony Davis almost once committed to Cleveland State, so bring him home.
That is wild.
He was 6'2" then.
Yeah.
Then one day,
he a
like a
freshman?
month later, he was 6'8", and Kentucky's money was showing up in his mailbox, and he wasn't going to Cleveland State anymore.
Would Anthony Davis doesn't like to play the 5?
Him and Mobley are enough of a 4-5 combo that I think they could get away with essentially both playing the 4 in a way.
So what you're saying they could, in theory, if they get under the second.
It's possible. I think it's more likely if Anthony Davis comes to Cleveland, I think it's more likely it happens this summer than by Thursday.
Okay.
But I do think there's serious interest between
Right.
the Cavs and Anthony Davis that something at some point could legitimately happen.
Mike, I want you to look this up. Harden's been an Iron Man compared to Anthony Davis, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Davis has just missed time. And that's his body is so unique. He's such a unique player.
Right.
He has missed significant time in almost every season.
That's true.
That would be the concern.
Yeah.
And that would be why you could get him now, because he's missing right now.
Right. I mean, in theory...
James Harden doesn't miss games. But for anyone who's curious...
Yeah, Harden doesn't...
James Harden almost never misses games due to injury.
Yeah, I was talking more about the overall reliability.
Yes,
night and day.
But in theory, the Cavs starting lineup next season
you
could be...
You better say the name that you better say.
It could be Donovan and Harden with Mobley, Anthony Davis, and LeBron. Like, that could be their starting lineup next year.
I'm telling you, Bull.
Which is
very
insane.
well could be.
It would have been the greatest team ever 5 years ago, but it still would be good. And then you'd have, I don't know, Tyson maybe and Merrill on the bench.
Still might not be good enough for OKC.
Yeah, I know. That's not. That wouldn't happen until next year.
Yeah.
Bronny's on the roster.
About fast, athletic, up and down versus old, slow, and gigantic.
Right. Yeah.
You got the Browns bragging about how young they're going to be. The Cavs will be the oldest team in NBA history.
They'll be playing like 90s style basketball.
LeBron turns 42.
They can't play defense.
First to 90 wins?
Yeah, I don't know. They can't play any defense.
We got Chris Rose in 2 minutes, but I want to ask you guys one last thing on this deal.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of alluded to the fact that Kobe Altman, they're going all in.
Yeah.
And yesterday we talked about the Guardians in the opposite regard, where they're just incredibly patient, cautious. They haven't made any big moves. In 60 seconds before we bring Chris in.
Yeah.
Compare those two different ends of the spectrum from how these two teams are operating.
Yeah,
I know it's not.
It's not fair
apples
to the Guardians front office. They're hamstrung by ownership who refuses to spend. Like, we know the Guardians front office is good. Even last year when I was like, maybe it's time to move on. When I had time to calm down about it. Like, the Guardians front office, they know what they're doing, but they're very hamstrung by the owner.
Yeah.
The owner, does a lot of good things. He hires good people, lets them do their job, unlike the Browns.
Yeah.
But he just won't spend. And the Guardians having the lowest payroll in baseball is a disgrace. There's no reason they should have the lowest payroll in baseball if you gave them more resources. But, it's frustrating if you're a Guardians fan that the team's done nothing to improve this season.
Sure. I think in any of these sports, when you're a front office, you lean into what you're good at. Clearly, the Guardians can develop pitching, right?
Yes.
So you would hope that they can pedal some of that off, turn it into some bats, and do it within their resources.
Yeah.
What have the Cavs been good at? Making trades. They got Jared Allen for nothing.
Yeah.
Like they made the bold move to get Donovan Mitchell. Now they've made a bolder move, arguably, to shipping off Darius Garland to go get James Harden. So we'll see where it all lands. Yeah.